Sporting 2, Tottenham Hotspur nil. Two goals in the 90th and then the 93rd minute, Janusz Mihalik. For long spells, it looked like a point apiece. Sporting get all 3 points. Did they deserve it?
Well, I think they did. I think if you look at Sporting on a counterattack, they were always dangerous, of course, right? I mean, Spurs at time had most of the ball, but didn't really create a ton of chances. Half chances here and there in the first half. I thought Emerson Royale had a couple saved by Adan. Other than that, Harry Kane, remember, from Perisic on the far post as well. But for the most part, you could see that Sporting were always going to be dangerous. And in the end, really two wonderful goals. Because if you look at the first one and the Porras shot that was saved so well by Hugo Lloris and subsequently led to the corner that was put away by Paulinho. So you can't complain here, right? It seemed that it was going to be 0-0 and Antonio Conte and Spurs would have taken it. But in the end, I think you got to give Sporting a lot of credit.
Sure, Marcus Edwards had a wonderful run towards the end of the first half that, had it not been for Hugo Lloris, would have been a sensational goal. But that was a sign of things to come, not with the opening Sporting goal in the 90th minute, but for the second Sporting goal from Artur, the substitute just on. And they really struggled to defend the dribble tonight, Spurs, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I mean, you look at the first goal, obviously Edwards, former Spurs academy player. It was so long ago that probably not many remember that. However, I think he wanted to maybe remind himself to some of the Spurs supporters. He certainly that run was tremendous. And again, Lloris had to come up with 2 or 3 outstanding saves, which he did. Ultimately, on the goals, he had very little to talk about. And it was just funny because, I look at Spurs. I think if you look at the 2 goals, I think you can point towards Emerson Royale, who up until then I thought had a pretty decent game. At least he was dangerous. He was going forward. And of course, I think on Paulinho, he was late in terms of that header. And I think Arthur megged him on his run on that left-hand side to score the second. So it's funny because in my book, I made some notes and I thought, you know what, Perisic, the midfield for Spurs were good. Just the front three, surprisingly, were really absent.
Let's talk about this because Son Heung-min, magnificent last season, just hasn't got going so far this season. Substituted, Kulusevski coming on. Is that the front three we'll see against Leicester this weekend? Harry Kane leading the line, supported by Richarlison and Kulusevski. And what on earth is happening with Son?
Yes, it will be. And, I'll get to that in a second. I think, look, if you look at Heung-min Son, I respect very much what Antonio Conte has done. Maybe he's taken another game, too many. But I think a player who, for me, was the best player in the Premier League. He wasn't voted that, obviously, together with Mo Salah. They both scored 24 goals, so it was a tremendous season. I think he deserved the benefit of the doubt. In the past, we always talk about Harry Kane starting slowly. This time, he's a little bit faster, and Son has struggled. And he's deputized tremendously last season for Harry Kane. So I give him credit. I think Antonio Conte hinted ahead of this game, right? He's talked about changing the culture a little bit more accountability, right? Saying that in the past, some of these players knew they were going to start always because there was no depth really. But now with Richarlison, of course, and Kulusevski, I think you're going to see that against Leicester City. But think about it. I mean, if you saw him, I think he'll understand. Think about Dejan Kulusevski. He was arguably the best player. He paid the price for playing well. Right, in a roundabout way, you can say that he was playing well, but yet he was taken out of the lineup in the last 3 games in terms of starting in favor of Richarlison. So you have that depth, and I'm sure Son is going to get a game or two coming off the bench, but I'm also sure that he's going to come good.
Yeah, of course. There's no doubt about that. He's not becoming a bad player overnight. It's just a case of when, and it'll probably be like buses. Once he gets his first goal back, then more will follow pretty quickly. Bigger picture here, early on, Champions League, Spurs got off to a winning start on match day 1. It's not the toughest of groups, let's be honest about this. Marseille have got Eintracht in the other game. Spurs should be all right, shouldn't they, as long as they get the 3 points against Sporting at home?
Yes, I mean, away to Eintracht, so that's important. An important part of the season coming up because they have North London Derby not too far away from them, right, as well. I mean, they've had a big game postponed over the weekend. There's a little bit of time, I suppose. Somehow they are are they the only London club that's playing this weekend anyway? They'll be playing against Leicester City. Look, they're undefeated in the Premier League. They're sitting third, so that's not so bad. But this is going to hurt because they would have taken a point gladly. They would have been level with Sporting at the top of this group, and there would have been, I want to say, almost no pressure on Spurs. And because of this very, very late collapse, all of a sudden you still have to think about that group. So psychologically, I don't think you can just dismiss this this loss or this result. And I'm telling you, Antonio Conte as well. He's going to be furious because if you can't win, don't lose. And this, in the end, was just a total collapse.
Yeah, Brentford Arsenal takes place on Sunday. That's the early kickoff. But yeah, you're right. Not many London teams in action this weekend. For Spurs, their first defeat of the season. It's how they bounce back that'll be key, and whether or not Son maybe has to start on the bench against Leicester this weekend.